4 games of intense, aggressive, spirited, and sometimes spectacular play has led the Golden State Warriors and the Utah Jazz to a standoff. Today's Game 5 of the first-round playoff series will decide which team will advance to face the Lakers. It's do or die time. Much to the delight of Utah coach Frank Layden, his Jazz took a 2-game-to-none series lead. But without their catalyst Ricky Green, who's suffering with a hamstring injury, Golden State has fought back and been able to wipe away the advantage. Purvis Short, coming back from injury himself, scored 32 points Friday night, giving Warrior coach George Karl one more shot at the Jazz. Today, it's Golden State and Utah as the pressure and intensity of the NBA playoffs continues to build. Which team will advance? The question about to be answered. And this has been some kind of even series all year. Although, as I mentioned, Golden State is 0-4 in the Salt Palace this year. As a matter of fact, Billy Packer, they've won only once in 4 years here in Utah.
Well, a very difficult place to play. George Karl said that he won 1 game here as a coach. Mullen, who had a hard time shooting early in the ball game and then start hitting later on. They need to get him free early.
Joe Barry Carroll with the skyhook over Eaton. 4-3, Warriors.
Here we see Carroll moving on Eaton on the inside. Now he uses the left hand well, not to push off to create an offensive foul, but just enough to get the room he needed to put up the hook shot.
Sleepy Floyd played 44 minutes Friday night. He was at his best when he penetrated. This is Joe Barry Carroll. 10-9, Golden State.
45 minutes. He had 11 assists. He had 6 steals, which was a new record for the Jazz. Hey, Eaton going to the hoop early.
Rebound Mullen.
Joe Barry Carroll beats Eaton on the break. Super hustle by Joe Barry Carroll. Hanson going to set the screen down inside for Thurl Bailey. They don't see him.
Carroll with the block. Moss on the fast break. Malone now has 11 points, so he is getting the roll. Warriors lead 42-36, and this is Joe Barry Carroll.
You know, I think you're better off not helping out.
We've talked about how physical this series is. Joe Barry Carroll right now is playing with cotton stuffed up his nostril to stop the bleeding. Purvis Short goes out of the ball game for Golden State. Chris Mullen is back in.
In isolation over here for Joe Barry Carroll with good dish inside. He's a player out of Gonzaga that nobody looking at really when he was in college till he got in the East-West game.
Bailey has his shot blocked. Joe Barry Carroll is tired. He's having trouble breathing. His nostrils are stuffed with cotton.
Now he might as well yank that cotton out of there and just play the game.
Hanson's shot goes, and he's fouled by Mullen. Joe Barry's mouth is hanging open like a fighter late in the fight, trying to suck for air.
It's interesting, I talked to Joe Barry this morning, and he said he expects this crowd to be very similar to the crowd that he faced over in Italy. He said it used to be amazing in those playoff games. You'd go to the game, and they'd be waiting outside for you, throwing bricks at you, wine bottles, and he said, I really got myself prepared for the NBA in my 1-year stint over in Italy.
We shouldn't laugh. That's not funny.
Solid screen coming here for Higgins off the triple.
Higgins gets it back to Floyd. He almost lost it. Joe Barry Carroll on Eaton.
Great shot. Eaton anticipated the play and still couldn't get to it.
71-56. Golden State with 9:40 remaining in the third period.
Joe Barry Carroll, I think, is enjoying himself at this point. You notice the cotton's out. I think he's getting a lot more confidence as the game rolls on. They're just not doing it.
The crowd's not in the ball game now either. Joe Barry Carroll is.
And he's giving Eaton a fit. Rub off inside.
Thurl Bailey has it partially blocked. Eaton has the rebound. Billy, I got the impression that both the Lakers and the Utah Jazz felt that would be the matchup here this Sunday. And all of a sudden, Golden State scrapped its way back into the series.
Now, the same may be true in regard to people expecting Dallas to advance, but nobody buys you way on in here. You got to do it on the court.
Joe Barry Carroll again.
Oh, what a great shot again. Eaton is really getting frustrated, and Carroll's just picking up his confidence. You can see it in his face.
That's 16 for J.B. Carroll. Billy, I'm telling you, I told you Friday night I saw him with Washington, and he was the key when the Bullets won the series in the late 70s against Seattle.
Malone just can't hang on to it, and you know the Warriors are blocking more shots than Utah.
Billy, you were talking about the blocked shots. As you look at the shot clock, and they set that, Joe Barry Carroll has 5 blocks. Mark Eaton now has 3.
Well, at halftime, as a team, you had the Warriors with 6 and Utah with 5. And coming into this game, Eaton had 17, and that was the total of the entire Warrior squad.
Higgins shoots and it's knocked to the ground, but there he is again. Joe Barry Carroll with a big rebound.
Warriors just playing him right off the floor, Tim.
Not only are the Jazz becoming frustrated, but the fans here at the Salt Palace are becoming very frustrated. Nice pass to Carroll.
Sleepy Floyd's concentration that time was incredible. There's Sleepy Floyd driving. You can see him really concentrate. Even on the way down, he's still looking at Joe Barry Carroll as he dished off on the inside. Great play.
When Carroll shot in that last turnover, there were 3 on the shot clock. They reset it because it hit the rim. Then there was a whistle as you look at Carroll's points and production against Eaton. Floyd was a little bit confused, turned to the official and wanted to know why the new shot clock didn't come on.
You can see Joe Barry Carroll really enjoying this short 20-second timeout. He is really tired right now, and he could be looking for Jerome Whitehead for a couple of quality minutes here. See if George Karl would go to Whitehead. With this kind of lead, there's no sense wearing him on down.
Scurry back into the ball game now. Takes a shot, has it blocked, gets it to Malone.
Oh, blocked, and he gets called for the foul, but that was a great play by Joe Barry Carroll. Almost came away with it.
The call was made by the trail official. The lead official said it was a good block.
Well, he wasn't but about 40 feet away from the play. Here goes Malone, goes up. Joe Barry Carroll had the ball on the way up. He gets called for the foul.
104 to 95. Griffith, tough shot, has it blocked.
You almost can forget about trying to make a drive on the baseline at that size unless you can take it all the way in for the dunk, because you're always going to get the weak side big man coming over there for the block. I'm not sure why he's doing that. He may want to get the ball back out just to get him in the set. Super drive.
Offensive foul.
Sleepy Floyd thought there'd be some contact in there, and he tried to pull the ball back.
The foul is on Larry Smith, Billy, and that'll be all.
Well, that
foul's out.
But Ballard can come in. Can use Ballard in that position. Or is that Joe Barry Carroll?
Joe Barry Carroll. Smith is staying out, and Joe Barry Carroll goes to the bench.
Now that really hurts the Warriors, because they could use Ballard for Smith and play the same position, but Joe Barry Carroll is a situation where on the offensive end of the floor, particularly in the half-court offense, the Warriors are really hurt.
Barry leads with 24 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 blocks. Short has 14 points. We're down inside 10 seconds. It's going to be it. Golden State, its first playoff series in 10 years, is going to win in round 1. And what a comeback. Down 2 games to none. They come back to win the best of 5. The second team in NBA history to do that. 118, 113, George Karl and Golden State. Quite a story. Joe Barry Carroll, the Miller Player of the Game. Miller is proud to present a check for $1,000 to the Multiple Sclerosis Society on behalf of Joe Barry Carroll. Joe Barry ends with 24 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 blocks.
Super game by Joe Barry. Even though he fouled out, he was the man in the middle that created the offensive structure that really changed things around, particularly midway through the ball game. Eaton got in trouble handling him, and it caused Frank Layton to have to make all the adjustments inside. They just couldn't handle Joe Barry Carroll.
Utah won game 1, 99-85. They won game 2, 103 to 100. But after that, it was all Golden State, 3 in a row. And they move on now to the second round and will play the Los Angeles Lakers. 118-113 the final, the Golden State Warriors.